For years, I've been lucky enough to travel the world, but I always return to Cornwall. This county is famous for rugged coastlines and sweeping beaches.
This is cool.
But Cornwall has so much more to offer.
These mines get almost a mile out to sea. This is a wonder of the world.
Now I want to show you what this place means to me.
They're like sweeties.
From its rich culture
I love these here.
to its ancient history.
Hello?
I talk to those who love this place.
This is where I feel at home.
And as you'd expect, I celebrate great Cornish food.
We take this in, they're more than happy.
Along the way, I hope to inspire you with my own dishes.
A sensational pud.
What I discover is that Cornwall is different to anywhere else in the world.
And it's that difference that I want to try and explain and to tell you what Cornwall means to me.
So far on my journey through Cornwall, I've been lucky enough to discover some of this county's most prized culinary delights. From fine Cornish oysters to arguably the best lobster in the world, organic gardens supplying local restaurants, to a small farm churning out the most incredible Gouda cheese. At this rate, you'd think I'm running out of places to go. But there's one important produce I've yet to show you: Cornish wine.
Well, I last filmed at the Camel Valley vineyards over 20 years ago. I really enjoyed it and the wines were good, but it was a bit of a novelty, the idea of Cornish wine. Since then, the wine has become world famous and they keep winning prizes, particularly for their sparkling Rosé wine, their sparkling Pinot Noir. Sparkling wines need acidity, and that's what we've got because of the slightly cooler climate. Plenty of acidity in our wines, which just make for great sparkling wines. So I'm really looking forward to tasting it, and the additional benefit at the moment is they're actually picking the grapes.
Nestled on the slopes of the Camel Valley in North Cornwall, this vineyard was founded in 1989 by Bob and Addie Lindo. It wasn't long before they won their first award at the National English Wine Competition. Their 14-acre vineyard is now run by their son, Sam, a maths graduate who turned down a career in the city to produce wines that give established brands such as Roederer and Bollinger a run for their money. 20 years ago, I was honoured to be invited to officially open their winery.
So these are Pinot Noir.
Yeah, these are the Pinot Noir, and
They look very healthy.
they look fantastic. So when you pick grapes, the most important thing is to place your hand under the bunch. So when you cut it, you just let the bunch drop into your hand.
Is that so you don't bruise them, I guess?
So you don't cut your fingers off.
Oh. How come Pinot Noir makes such good wine in Cornwall then?
Well, Pinot Noir makes, can be grown anywhere in the world, but in Cornwall, it ripens very slowly and you get this really nice acidity, which is perfect for making traditional method sparkling. And the other great thing about Pinot Noir is when it's unripe, unlike other red varieties, you get this really nice strawberry and raspberry character in the wine. And again, that's just the right character that we need to make our wine.
I think I'll be a useless picker because I'm too interested in tasting them.
You do that for about an hour and then you stop eating.
Then you get fed up.
Yeah.
Years ago, nobody would have given English wine any credit. I remember Robert Parker, you know, the famous American wine expert who rated all the wines over the world out of 100, actually said about English wine, don't even think about it. It's a cold country with nasty winds and rain. They don't really make wine worth drinking.
Yeah, he's retired now, Rick.
Well, he obviously got it wrong.
It was certainly more of a challenge to grow grapes 30 or 40 years ago in this country. But also we've now we're now making the right kind of wine. I think an English wine won a Best in the World awards every year for 10 years in a row. So things have really changed since that comment was made.
For the best will in the world, it's not exactly a sort of brilliant sunny climate, is it? But
It's certainly not, but if you get a lot of sun, you lose that acidity, which is great to make the wines that they make in Provence, but it's not what you need for great sparkling wine. I felt for a long time that Cornwall was like the Savile Row of food and drink, and you've got...
you ought to bring up the tourist board and say, the Savile Row of food and drink.
Well, you've got everything from really...
You shouldn't be picking ones, you should be doing ads.
I think I'm a one-hit wonder with that, though.
Well, this is the bit I enjoyed the most, of course, is tasting. It's a very, very agreeable taste. First of all, it is very sweet and very acidic. When you bite into it, there's a little pause, and then the flavour floods into your mouth. And it's a bit like when you taste a glass of wine with a good grape that's like this. There's a little pause, and then you're aware of the flavours. And in this case, the acidity, yes, but also lots of fruit flavours. They're very Moorish. I mean, I don't know how long I could go on eating these, but I suspect more than an hour.
During the harvest, Sam and his team pick up to 10 tons of grapes every day. Within a few hours of being picked, the grapes are on their way to be pressed. Since Sam's father Bob started making wine, the equipment has become much more sophisticated. Today, modern machinery first removes the stalks before the grapes are sent to what is called a bladder press. Inside this metal drum, an air sac called a bladder expands, crushing the grapes gently against the perforated wall, which allows the juice to run out.
What's the pink juice?
It's lovely. Sweet, acidic, fresh, and non-alcoholic too. Compare that with a carton of juice you buy in a shop. I mean,
This is just fresh and delicious. We turn it to alcohol instead.
of course, the old ways are the best.
That's right.
The juice is pumped into 5,000-litre tanks, where the grape's sugars are fermented into alcohol. The fermenting wine is tested twice a day for its sugar-alcohol content, using a simple device called a hydrometer. The hydrometer will sit high if there's a lot of sugar suspended in the juice, but low once the juice has been converted to alcohol. This sparkling wine has fermented in the bottle for 3 years. Now the excess yeast is removed. Then it's corked, labelled, and ready to drink.
Something celebratory about pouring a glass of champagne, isn't it? The bubbles, fizzy noise.
You know what's coming.
You know what's coming.
Cheers.
That's very nice. But what you were saying in the vineyard is so right. It's so right for the climate. And, you know, whoever first realised that when they were making champagne, we could make very similar wines here, was inspired. Is it made like champagne?
We do a couple of things differently. So firstly, we crush and destem the grapes, and that means you get a little bit of colour will bleed out of the skins and into the juice.
The colour, I mean, talk about a blush.
The red grapes, they've actually got white juice, so the colour comes from the skins of the grapes, and that's how it's made pink. One of the things that we've noticed growing grapes in England is the grapes go very slowly, so you'll get these kind of flavours of unripeness that happen to be really nice, and it is unique to growing grapes in this climate and in Cornwall.
Says it all for the Cornish climate.
That's right. Cheers.
Well, I've had such a lovely time here at Camel Valley. It's been so good talking to Sam, and more and more I'm thinking about Cornwall as I'm doing this journey is about how good everything is, how good the produce is. Perhaps we should just cast off from the rest of the country and say goodbye. We can look after ourselves very nicely, thank you.
Downriver from the slopes of the Camel Valley vineyard is my hometown of Padstow. In spring and summer each year, huge shoals of mackerel arrive in our waters to spawn. Closely related to tuna, they're our fastest fish and can swim an astonishing 5 metres every second. Despite their speed, they're relatively easy to catch. So, if like me, you love to throw a fresh mackerel on the barbie, summer is the perfect time to go fishing.
So we're just on our way to Pentar Point, and we're going to be fishing for mackerel, and I'm looking to do a dish with mackerel, which is actually to stuff it with a sort of masala, an Indian curry.
I wish I was a fisherman, tumbling on the seas, far away from dry land and its bitter memories.
We're heading to Pentar Point, where the River Camel meets the sea. Here the water is deep and perfect for mackerel. But I've also fished for mackerel from piers or beaches. Anywhere, in fact, is possible to cast a line into the depths.
Lovely there, isn't it? Beautiful.
Very nice.
My skipper is Rob Thompson, our fishmonger, an old friend who goes by the name of Flea, because he used to jump around a lot as a kid.
Do you ever come out when you finish work in the fish shop?
Yeah, I do. I like it before work as well. Like come here like at past 4 or 5 o'clock in the summer, catch a few mackerel for the shop.
Yeah.
Really love doing that. Puts you in a good frame of mind when you start work, you know?
Yeah.
You've seen the sun come up. It's beautiful. And obviously made a few quid as well, which helps. Yeah. But yeah, it's nice seeing your fish on the slab sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know? It's lovely. Right, Ray, I'll set you up first.
Thank you very much.
Mackerel will snap at anything which looks like a fish. So to catch them, you don't need any bait, just a lure, such as a feather or spinner. As they move in shoals, you'll probably land a handful at any one time. Anyway, I'm making it sound easy. We haven't cast our lines yet.
Just drop down to the bottom and work up through the depths.
How deep are we here then?
60 foot of water here. I'll have a jig for some mackerel, so there's any joeys here.
So why do you call them joeys? They're just little mackerel, are they?
Yeah, I don't know what they call them, joeys, actually.
It's a good name.
It is a lovely name. They're nice eating for...
They are nice eating, aren't they?
Yeah, beautiful.
Summer mackerel, I guess.
A couple of days filling it off for breakfast. I'm eating a lot of them, like, you know, for breakfast and stuff.
Oh, I love fresh fish for breakfast, just fried or grilled.
Pan fried, bit of flour, bloody can't beat it.
So unusually, Flea, you're a fisherman that actually likes to eat fish.
Oh, I love it, Rick. My dad was a trawlerman, and every fisherman end of the trip had the pick of the catch, and he'd spring out bloody right plaice, lemon salt, Dover salt, handsome. But I grew up with that, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, lovely.
I haven't done a lot of fishing recently. I suppose just because I've been a bit busy, but I used to come out here with my dad an awful lot when I was young, was little. Just around here, both mackerel fishing and bass fishing, so it's quite a pleasant memory for me, I must say. Ah.
You got one, Rick, have you?
No, it's gone, I think. Yeah. So you remember, like in the 70s, like how big were the salmon they used to bring in then?
Well, like, we used to call like a nice salmon, like 10 pounds. They was quite abundant, the 10 pounders, but
Yeah.
like, occasionally you get like summer fish, you get like the 14, 15 pounders, fish
Yeah.
like that size.
Yeah. And
And-
deep as well.
Yeah, deep.
Yeah.
That deep, beautiful. And the power, like when they used to hit the nets, is brilliant.
And I guess everybody's so used to farmed salmon now, you forget how delicious
lovely.
wild salmon is. It's just amazing when you think about it that, you know, we took it all for granted that they just always come in, and of course you can't get them anymore.
Sadly, salmon stocks here are much diminished, but I'm beginning to wonder if there are any fish left in the sea.
Come on, Joey's, we're here too. We got a Joey.
Look at that.
We got mackerel for breakfast, Rick.
We so have.
Thou shalt have a fishy on a little dishy. Thou shalt have a fishy when the boat comes in.
Look at that, beautiful. They're beautiful, the markings and that on it.
Isn't that beautiful?
Look at the rainbow colours,
Yeah.
look, beautiful.
I haven't had any luck with the mackerel yet, but watching Flea landing those little joeys. If you like fish, you could not possibly see those fish and not think I'd like to eat that. I mean, they're just so sort of like jewels and fresh and glistening and designed to go straight under the grill. Well, I think so anyway.
I got mackerel on.
Oh, well done.
Have the fishy when the boat comes in. Thou shalt have the fishy on a little dishy. Thou shalt have a mackerel when the boat comes in.
Thank goodness Flea managed to catch a few fish. I'm going to show you how to cook that mackerel dish I was telling you about. A simple recipe which hails from my exotic travels in India and is perfect to spice up a trip to the beach.
Now, you may find that grilling mackerel on a beach over charcoal, just leave it simple, maybe a bit of salt and pepper. But I absolutely love mackerel rashada, which is a Goan dish where you actually stuff the mackerel with a masala paste. And this, the most important thing, is the masala paste. I've got here some ginger, some garlic, some turmeric, some cumin, some black peppercorns, some cloves, very important, some dried flaked red chili, some salt, and the other very important thing in Goan cooking is vinegar. It should be toddy vinegar made from coconuts, but actually it's just red wine vinegar. So in that goes too.
I'm using about a teaspoon of each of the spices and chilies and a good glug of the vinegar. Put all the ingredients into a blender to make a paste.
Just have a bit of a taste. Straight back to Goa.
Next, carefully fillet the mackerel. The fresher the fish, the easier this is to do.
That's what I'm looking for. I've got the backbone out quite easily. It's a sort of mackerel sandwich. And now I'm just going to add some of my delicious masala paste and just apply it liberally down the centre of the mackerel. It'll slightly blow your head off, and I think if you're going to make this for children, you probably need to leave some of the chili out of. But the thing about mackerel and all oily fish is it goes very well with strong chili flavours. And you'll find that when you make this and you eat it. So a couple of bits of string here, just to tie everything together for the barbie. When I first came across this dish in Goa, and there they make it with pomfret, that's a sort of like flatfish. And I remember having that and just thinking, it's one of those sort of epiphany moments. And I just thought I'd arrived in a different universe of flavour. So that's ready to go on the barbie now.
Lightly brush the fish with oil and flame grill for a few minutes on each side, allowing the skin to go crispy. To accompany the mackerel, I've sliced some tomato, which I'm dressing with fresh coriander, a sprinkle of salt, and a little red wine vinegar.
Well, here we go. What I like about cooking things on the barbecue, when you look at it, it looks like it's going to be massively overcooked. But when you cut into it, you realise it's not. That it's actually slightly undercooked in the middle. And the joy of that masala with that slightly undercooked mackerel right in the middle. I don't mean raw, just slightly undercooked. It is made in heaven. The mixture of that spice and the bit of vinegar and the tomato and the coriander and the glorious mackerel, it's just perfect. I mean, it's not the best weather, but my knees have been warmed by the charcoal, and my insides have been warmed by the chili. A little bit of warmth to a cold Cornish beach.
One of the reasons I love living in Cornwall is that there's a pioneering spirit in the air. I think it attracts those who want to do great things. 30 years ago, in a corner of this county, now known as the Lost Gardens of Heligan, a passionate environmentalist had a vision to create what is now one of Britain's most stunning gardens.
So I'm just about to meet a friend of mine who I think is one of the most influential people in Cornwall. And also, from what he's done, I think he's put Cornwall well on the map as somewhere really special to visit. And the great thing about Tim to me is everything he talks about is completely fascinating.
Sir Tim Smith first trained as an archaeologist, then moved into the music industry before relocating his whole family to Cornwall in 1987. Since then, he's created some of this country's most memorable and ambitious projects, all here in Cornwall, which includes the restoration of Heligan and the creation of the magnificent botanic domes known as the Eden Project.
Heligan was when I first got to know all about you, and the idea of Heligan was just so inspiring. Just tell me, first of all, why did you come to Cornwall? Because you're part Dutch, aren't you? What are you doing coming to Cornwall?
Well, to be honest, I came on holiday for the first time and it peed with rain, and I went into an estate agent and there was a house for sale. I bought it 48 hours later. It was ridiculous. So I gave up the music industry and I was thinking about what to do. And a neighbour of mine who'd become friendly said, "You've got a garage which you don't have a car in, and I've got a really big black pig and I need a home for it. Could I home the pig in your garage?" So Horace arrived, and after a while I realised he was lonely, so we found Doris. And I found some land, which is literally about 500 yards from here. I found out who owned it, went to see him, and he told me instantly that I couldn't have the land. So we sat there talking for, I don't know, about half an hour. And he just happened to say, "What's your career been?" And I said, "I started life as an archaeologist." And he then uttered the immortal words, "I have need of an archaeologist."
And?
Well, he told me that he'd inherited this huge estate next door, that his family didn't have much money. The place had been abandoned since just after the First World War. And he said, "Would I like to come with him the following day?" And I came with him, rather surprised to be given a machete as a garden visit. And I broke into it and I fell in love. I just fell hopelessly in love with the whole idea. I wanted to be the prince that kissed the frog. I've always been, I've always been a frog kisser, and that's how it began.
Well, that is so lovely.
Today, Heligan stands as Europe's largest garden restoration project. What had been reclaimed by nature has been carefully researched and rebuilt. Like other estates across the country, Heligan had been a model of self-sufficiency and conservation in the early 1900s, ways of working that over the years have been lost to modern horticultural practices.
The fact that Heligan was lost was what really attracted me, but Heligan is now found. So how do you feel about it now, 30 years on?
I think we've all felt that the first part of our journey has been to rediscover the art of great horticulture, much of which has been lost over the intervening 70, 80 years. But going to the future, what I hadn't realised when we started on this journey is that the way that socially we would all change with our reaction to climate change is the big thing, but also to, I think, a deep unease with the way we are living and the way we're treating the land. So there's a huge interest now in the sort of crops that aren't going to be taking all the nutrients out of the soil, that perhaps need fewer nutrients, and also that create a canvas on which the world of biodiversity sits easily with soil fertility. And it's a science every bit as important as engineering, as medicine, as pharmacy. And I would argue possibly more so, because if you can't feed yourself, you'll starve.
It's this belief that is fueling his passion for his next project. Not far from Heligan, Tim has bought an old golf course, which he's turning into Europe's largest orchard. I know it doesn't look like much now. Remember, Eden was just a clay pit. But imagine 3,000 rare fruit trees, bearing everything from apples to pears, mulberries and walnuts.
What we're going to do here is we want to make it a real centre for heritage fruit and vegetables that people will not be familiar with, that they will like, because we'll trial them, whatever. And when we find successes, let's say 1 in 5 captures the imagination, we want to build up a cooperative of our neighbouring farms so that they can start to grow it. Because I'm very interested, as are we both, in local resilience, local jobs. But our biggest passion is to reposition the whole profession of horticulture and agronomy.
I mean, this would be fantastic to bring the public into, wouldn't it? Because everybody has a love of great nuts and fruit, and actually seeing them growing and seeing all those additional things you're doing.
Yeah, and in here, it doesn't look very glamorous in cardboard, but we want to have a covered farmers market. We're determined that we provide a platform for all our neighbouring farms, because in the future, farming is going to become, I know it's important already, but it's going to become even more important, and I would like us to be able to have a place which draws it all together.
I mean, this is pretty special, isn't it? I mean, this orchard. I mean, I can't imagine anybody's quite as mad as you to have such an enormous orchard.
This is a bit like if we were going to another planet and we were trying to bring all the rare trees that could grow in this climate together in one place. That's what we're trying to do. So it's really exciting, because there won't be anything like it anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Join me next time as I continue my journey across the ancient land of Cornwall.
Gallants afoy, gallants afoy. Good hands to get freights or take prizes. Ahoy! What's the crop?
Sagita potatoes.
Cheers. Cheers. It's become a bit of a legend, a great feast of beasts and vegetables. This is man's food.